simply abide by the ceasefires and not attack Gaza at will. And that leads us to, and that is why it is an utter lie when you hear people say, oh, well, the Palestinians could just simply be reasonable about it, they need to stop the preconditions. Well, what are the preconditions they're talking about? The preconditions that they're talking about are actually basic human rights. The precondition is Israel actually not ceasing to violate the 2012 ceasefire, which also included them getting rid of the murderous siege, which keeps such dangerous things as coriander out of the Gaza Strip, that keeps food, that keeps eggs, that keeps medicine out of there, that keeps them from rebuilding their sewerage treatment facilities so they can have clean water. They were supposed to lift that siege in the 2012 ceasefire. They never did it, and now when the people in Gaza demand that they actually keep their word, the word they gave in 2012, what do? They say it's a precondition. I'm going to try to wrap it up. I'm sorry, there's so much that I can say on this. I wasn't exactly sure how much time I was planning. But when you get down to it, it all comes down to this. There is an occupying power here that has an army that has more deadlier than every NATO state but one. Guess which one? It happens to be the one that's doing most of the supplying. And you have a captive population surrounded by watchtowers and fences who have nowhere to go, who have absolutely no way of defending themselves against this sort of an onslaught, though some of them are having a go and they deserve all of our support, because that's the only thing that Israel has ever listened to. We need to counter this idea that there's anything legitimate about what's going on. It's not just disproportionate. Israel has no right to fire a single shot in the direction of Gaza. And
I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Julian Goss, who's from the Unite Against Fascism Wales group, the group that's been instrumental in making sure that the streets of South Wales have remained racist and fascist free as much as we possibly can. We've still got no fascist AMs or MPs in Wales, and we're very proud of that, and a lot of that is down to the work of Unite Against Fascism. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Julian.
Right, I bring you greetings from Unite Against Fascism, sisters and brothers. I'm going to be very brief, but I want to make 3 or 4 points. The first is that the Israeli assault on Gaza began on the 6th of July. The ground troops went in on the 16th of July. And 3 days ago, I read in the national press in Britain a quote from the United Nations spokesperson who said the Israelis may be in violation of international law. Now, wait a minute. United Nations, don't forget that the blockade of Gaza had been going on since 2007. The blockade of Gaza is against international law. The United Nations has suddenly spotted it. And that's really my first point. The second is, when the United Nations does absolutely nothing, nevertheless, when Putin and the Russian forces go into Ukraine, for example, the Western leaders are all jumping up and down saying we should have economic sanctions against the Russians. Do they have economic sanctions against the Israelis? No. In fact, the US still gives $3 billion a year to the Israeli state. That's the economic sanctions they have. And I want to say something about the blockade, and that is that the illegal blockade of Gaza is absolutely meticulous. Did you know that the Israeli military have figured out, they've calculated, that 2,279 calories per day per person is enough food for Palestinians living in Gaza. To the exact number, 2,269 calories per day. They banned all exports coming out of Gaza.